Welcome back. So the school governing body of Pretoria High School for Girls has approached the courts for the Gauteng Education MEC to release a report into alleged racism. 8 pupils were suspended over a WhatsApp group which contained messages with apparent racial undertones. Now, SGB chairperson Craig Hezlett joins us now for more on this. Craig, a good evening to you. Thank you so much for giving us your time. This has been such a big discussion, and, you know, there's the conversation around whether or not what was happening in that WhatsApp group can be characterized as racism. But you've now taken the step to file a court application against the department. Talk to me about why, Craig.
Yes, hi, good evening, Naledi, and good evening, viewers. Thanks so much for having me on the show. Yes, it's unfortunate we've got to the position that we're in. We as an SGB and as a school don't really want to be at loggerheads with the GDE. They're there to protect and to guide us and to teach us. And unfortunately, it's just got too much at the moment. And we have felt it necessary, particularly after the investigative report that has just been launched by the MEC at our school. We just felt it necessary that we actually need to just get the courts involved in this. Yeah,
in fact, it was 12 pupils at the school that were suspended, 8 of them being prefects. So, I mean, there's a lot. You talk about the role that GDE and should be playing, and I suppose the relationship between yourselves and GDE. But then there is this report, right, that has been put together by Mdladlamba attorneys investigating whether or not there was racism at the school. Have you had sight of that report?
Unfortunately not, Naledi. The report was done at a media briefing at the school on the 4th of November. We as an SGB and the school leadership team were invited to that launch of the report. We were exposed to a summary on that day, and that afternoon I filed an urgent application to the MEC requesting a copy of the report so that we could respond, review. Up until now, 3 weeks later, we have not seen the report.
Yeah. And then, I mean, talk to me about what the implications of that have been for you, because surely if a report is an investigation into the school is made, you would want to see it. Perhaps you want to give me your reasons as to why it's important that you see that report.
No, absolutely. And I think it's very important we understand what led up to actually the investigative report being launched by the MEC. When the 12 girls were actually going through their hearing, which was on the 29th or 30th of July, the government or the education department, the MEC, decided to suspend our principal, Mrs. Erasmus, and said to her that she's been suspended for not dealing with racism. 2 days later, the sanction for the 12 girls came out and was unanimously acquitted as a not guilty verdict. Now, this was chaired by an independent advocate. We thought it necessary to get somebody very professional involved and take it outside the realms of just a parent making a decision, which we are as SGB members. So unfortunately, the government or the education department said that they supported the outcome, but Mr. Mabona on live TV declared his disappointment at the outcome. I think subsequent to that, a day later, there was an announcement made that there will be an investigative lawyer that's going to be investigating a culture of racism at the school. So my feeling is that they weren't happy with the outcome or the sanction of the 12 girls, which led into this report. Now, you're right. The importance of the report is exceptionally important. There's 9 allegations of misconduct on that report that we've seen in the summary. Once again, I have not seen the report. I'm able to, and bearing in mind that the investigation was to look at a culture of racism, out of those 9 misconduct allegations, one of them could be deemed to be racist, where there is a claim that white teachers don't greet black teachers, which is totally untrue. But the rest, the other 8, have nothing to do with racism. So we actually, as an SGB, are very confused as to this investigative report or the investigation that's gone on, and feel that it's an absolute witch hunt to tarnish the school's reputation.
Okay, because, of course, one of the findings that we did hear from Mdladlamba is that issue around relations between teachers. So you say, they say white teachers do not greet black staff members, and you say that's completely untrue.
Yes, absolutely. So, I mean, I'm at the school 2 or 3 times a week, and, I often walk past staff that are busy and they don't greet me. I'm definitely not going to be putting my hand up to say that it's racism. So, it's really just absurd that it's got to this. The allegations, had there been something substantive that came out of the report, I assure you as an SGB team and as a school management team, we would have dealt with it head on. We have a long heritage in our school. We're over 120 years old. We are one of the crown schools in Pretoria for girls, and it's just so unnecessary as to what we're going through at the moment.
I wonder how much of this and you see, here's the thing though, Craig, is the issue of greeting is not just, I suppose, about manners, but it also speaks to a culture, right? And that's where the question for the everyday South African that's watching this discussion may be concerned about. And let's not forget that many years ago, yes, but in 2016, Pretoria Girls High made the news after what was called racist hair policies against young black girls. And I mean, there's this prominent young woman now who's an anti-racism activist, Zuleika Patel, who's become very prominent for challenging hair policies at Pretoria Girls High. So since then, talk to me about the work that the school has done to improve a culture that says that we hate racism at Pretoria Girls High. It's in your paper filed as well, where you talk about racism is abhorrent. It's abhorrent to all thinking South Africans and to the school.
Correct. And Lady, yeah, we do take it very seriously. We pride ourselves and we want to transform these girls into the future leaders of South Africa. We as an SGB team, there's 9 members on my team. And so this isn't a Craig discussion. This is really an SGB, and we sit as a team on a weekly basis. We have things like Conversation for Change. We have programs at the school. We encourage the learners to talk. We encourage the staff to engage. It's ongoing, and it's an ongoing discussion and program at the school. We found it very, very necessary, particularly in the day and age that we live in, that we have these open conversations. Because we need to remember, these girls that are matric now, 16 years old, they weren't around when it was apartheid days or when the transformation came through with Mr. Mandela. So, they shouldn't, the girls of today shouldn't theoretically even know of apartheid or have to deal with it. So we do encourage it continuously at our school as part of our programs.
Yeah. There's of course the role that was played in this matter by the former President Thabo Mbeki, who sent a letter to the Gauteng Premier and the Education MEC saying that the government, the GDE, did not deal with the matter of Pretoria Girls High appropriately and efficiently. I mean, what do you think that intervention did for, I suppose, the battle that you have with GDE moving forward?
Yeah, I absolutely respect President Mbeki. He actually reached out to us. We didn't reach out to him. He reached out to us and said he's actually been alarmed at some of the media exposure that Girls High was getting at that stage, which was at the early beginning of August. He reached out to us and said to me, Mr. Hezlett, could I please pop around and just come and have a coffee with you and your team and let's have a discussion. What ended up being a small coffee ended up being a 3-hour discussion, and we took him through the events leading up to where we are now. He made excessive notes, took it back to his foundation and to his legal team that then independently, I never asked him to do it, they independently went and had a look at all the information that was supplied, including the WhatsApp chats, which I gave him copies of. And he put it through his team and came back and said, well, there is no racism, that this has actually been blown out of proportion. That prompted him to put his report together and submit a letter to the MEC and to the Education Department. Yeah, just lastly, okay, so you've gone this route of filing these court papers, what you want to see come out of that. And then, of course, there's the question around the role. One of the respondents, of course, here is the Basic Education Minister, Siviwe Kwagube. What you want to see from her and the outcomes that you'd like to see from the court process. Yeah, so as I said, this isn't a position we want to find ourselves in. The learners have just come out of prelims, they've just written finals, and their interest should have been put first. Unfortunately for the Education Department, they didn't put the learners' interest at first, so we had to fight that. But really, ultimately, we just want our school back. We just want normality. We will continue with our programs. Nothing changes through this process. There's been no alarm bells that have gone off for us that we need to change drastically at the school. We just want normality back at the school. We want our leadership team back. We want the girls to be able to aspire and to grow and to be able to academically grow as individuals. So we're just looking for normality. Unfortunately, this process has caused a bit of a divide in the school. amongst educators and amongst some of the learners. And we just want to move on. And if anything is necessary to address, we will address it. We're not hiding from that fact.
Craig, we do appreciate your time. We'll be watching developments very closely, of course. Craig Hezlett is the chair of the school governing body with Pretoria Girls High.